Hi, this is PAD 747 peer review um, for ballistic imaging and microstamping, which comes by way of Miss Luz Montero. Um, the subject matter is interesting. Some of the information she provided I never heard before, so it was really interesting to watch the podcast. And what she stated was that the ballistic imaging um, is necessary or sometimes proves necessary to identify a firearm that's involved in a particular crime. Um, this was the first time I've ever heard that it's not a completely reliable science, and that there are instances where it's alleged that uh, the firearm ballistic quote unquote fingerprint has changed over years or over time. So I previously believed it was a pretty reliable science where if you had a gun and it had a certain groove pattern or fingerprint that it would necessarily have that print for life, but not necessarily so according to Miss Montero. So that was interesting to note. um, what she also delves into is new technology, which also, again, this is the first I've ever heard of it. It's called microstamping. And what it basically does is um, stamps a particular weapon. So if it does eject a projectile, that ultimately you can match um, the bullet and the weapon through the stamping. Um, there's not a lot of research, probably, that she was stating is because this has not been fully implemented. um, there is a huge uh, push from the NRA not to have this type of technology implemented. And I believe there's only one state that has fully implemented this, and that's California. And gun makers are pulling out of that state simply because of that. And um, she didn't delve into it, but thinking about it, I'm confused as to why gun makers would have such a problem with micro stamping. But with any gun laws, to identify the owner of a gun might bring problems to those who are involved in certain crimes. So any legislation is bad legislation to the NRA. So that would be interesting for her to also go into the politics of how the one of the largest lobbyist groups, the NRA, is really pushing back on this technology, which is relatively, I understand, relatively cheap to implement and would probably solve a large number of crimes out there. Only because the current ballistics database, which is just used on ballistic data on a national level that's collected, is currently solving cases, cold cases, current cases. So I think something like this would benefit investigators. So it's a very interesting topic. It's kind of complicated, but it was very interesting. And like I said, I would look forward to seeing her final podcast on this topic. Um, Very good. Thank you.